everyone, this is Lana from Lana Under Pressure, and in this video I'm going to show you my family's recipe for authentic Cuban black beans. So every Cuban family has their own recipe for frijoles negros, or black beans, and in the past I would never make them because in order to make black beans you have to remember to soak them the day before, and I can barely remember to get dinner on the table the day of, so the idea of setting it up the day before never worked. So whenever we wanted black beans, I would kind of cheat and use the canned ones, which aren't that great. You know, you can dress them up a little bit, but they never turn out exactly like they're supposed to. However, with the Instant Pot, you can make black beans from dried without having to soak them, and they come out fantastic. So now let's start with the beans. The beans that I like to use are the Goya brand 1 pound bag of dried black beans. Now you can use any brand you like, as long as it's a pound, but I really like the Goya brand. My family uses it, everybody I know uses it, and they turn out really well. Now the thing about using black beans from dried, or any beans, is that it's really economical to do it this way, because not only this bag only cost me, I think it cost me $1.79, so it's a lot cheaper than buying from the can, but this recipe will last you, it makes so much that it'll last you a week, and you can freeze it. It freezes it really, really well. And so it's really economical, and all the ingredients come together so quick. So you're gonna go ahead and get your black beans. Now the important thing whenever you're using any dried beans is to make sure that you rinse them and you pick through them. Now my grandmother says it's because you have to pick through it to get out any rocks. Now, and all the time that I've been making them, I've never found a rock in my bean, but if she does it, I'm gonna do it. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a colander. I have a mesh strainer, but you can use a colander. And you're just going to go ahead and put the black beans and run them over cold water and go through them. Now, you don't wanna rinse them too much because we're not soaking them, it's just to get the dust off. But you're just gonna do a quick rinse and set them aside. So here I have my beans. They've been rinsed. I rinsed them for about 20 seconds, just real quick under cold running water. And I'm gonna let them drain. I'm gonna set them aside, and I'm gonna get the rest of the ingredients together. So this first group of ingredients are what you're gonna use to flavor your beans as they cook. So what you're gonna need is you're gonna need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You wanna have 1½ green bell peppers. You're gonna have 1 onion, and I like to use the yellow onions, but you can use white onion if you want. 4 cloves of garlic, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of white sugar. You're also going to need 5 cups of water, and you're gonna need 1 packet of Sazon Goya. So a lot of my followers who aren't used to cooking Cuban food have asked me about Sazon. And so I wanted to go over that real quick. Now, Sazon is just a seasoning mix, and it's used in a lot of Latin and Hispanic cooking, and especially in Cuban cooking. And they come in little packets just like this, and it's like, you know, Mrs. Dash or Old Bay seasoning. It's just a seasoning mix that has seasonings that you'll find in a lot of Cuban cooking. Now, the one that I use for this recipe is Sazon con azafrán, which is saffron. Now, if you don't like saffron, or if you can't find this particular one, and I've had a lot of people asking, you know, they couldn't find the one that I have, that's okay. Goya makes lots of different mixes, and you can use any one. Use the one that you like the best. Now, this one right here, I really love. This one has more garlic and onion powder to it. There's also this one they make that has coriander and annatto in it. So whichever one you really want to use, you're more than welcome to use it. They can, you know, mix and match, but they're really great. And if you've ever wanted to know how you get that, you know, you're trying to do the home cooking and get that extra Cuban flavor, it's Sazon. Now, I will say, and I'll let you know because I know I'm going to get tons of comments because I always do, yes, Sazon has MSG in it. Now, I like MSG. I'm used to it. I love it. I think it's what gives that extra boost of flavor. I know there are some people who do not like to cook with MSG or say they can't cook with MSG, and that's okay. So if you don't want to use this seasoning, no problem. I have, and I'll put in the description below, a link to my blog for my recipe for my black beans, and in there I have a recipe to make your own homemade Sazon seasoning mix, and you can interchange that anytime I use Sazon or any type of seasoning mix, and it's just as good. So now we have all our ingredients prepared, and we're gonna go ahead and start cooking. Now, I've gone ahead and minced up the onions small, as well as the green bell peppers and the garlic. So we're gonna start with sauteing these. So you're gonna open up your Instant Pot and you're gonna press saute, and then you're gonna adjust it to less. Now, in this Instant Pot, it has an adjust button. If your Instant Pot or your electric pressure cooker doesn't, then usually what you would do is you just hit the saute button and that will go ahead and cycle through the different modes. So we're going to go ahead and saute these on low. So now once we have it on saute, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So we're gonna add our 2 tablespoons of olive oil and we're gonna wait for that to get hot. Now our Instant Pot reads hot and we can add the food. So we're going to add our 1 minced onion. And the reason I like to do this on low saute is because it gives the onions and the green peppers time to really kind of get translucent before it starts browning. If you do it on a higher heat, it'll brown before they actually cook through. So we're going to add our 1½ green bell peppers. And if you only want to use 1, or if you only have 1, that's okay. Use what you have. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And this really helps to bring out the liquid in the onion and peppers to get it sauteing and to get them softer. So mix that around. And we're just going to go ahead and let that saute. Now, a trick when you're sauteing, sometimes you'll notice that when you're trying to stir the food, the liner goes around in a circle. And right now it's not hot, so I can hold it down, but sometimes it can get really hot and you don't want to do that. So a trick is to use an alligator clip or one of these clips and just clip it to the side, and then you can go ahead and stir. Now we're going to go ahead and let that cook and saute down till the onions and the green peppers are kind of translucent and they're cooked through but not quite brown. So now it's been about 6 minutes and it's just starting to brown just a little bit and a little bit sticking to the bottom of the pot. So now we're going to go ahead and add the garlic. Now you only want to add the garlic towards the end of this sauteing process because the garlic will brown and burn really quickly. So I add it in there and I stir and I just let it sit for about 30 seconds until you can really smell it. So we'll add the garlic in and stir that. And we're just going to let that sit for about 30 seconds. So it's been about 30 seconds and you can start smelling the garlic. So now we're going to go ahead and turn it off. We're going to hit cancel. And now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. So we're going to add the black beans straight to the pot. Go ahead and give those a stir, just to mix it all together. And now if you notice that you have some brown bits on the bottom, it's really important that you get those up. And so I like using one of these flat wooden spatulas and I just scrape the bottom, because if you don't scrape up any of the brown bits, that's how you get the burn notice. So that's a little tip. Now we're going to go ahead and add the 5 cups of water. We're going to add the sugar. And we're going to add our packet of Sazon Goya. And now if you, again, made your own, you're going to add then 1 tablespoon of the homemade seasoning. But I'm just using the packet, so you add that straight in there. And go ahead and mix. And once the liquid is in there, that's another good time to just scrape the bottom. That's something that you should always do, and it's a really good tip, is to just scrape the bottom whenever you've sauteed anything. Perfect. Now that it's all mixed in there, I'm going to remove my clip and put the lid on. So we have the lid for the Instant Pot. We're going to line it up, turn it. We're going to make sure our vent is on seal, in the seal position. And we're gonna go ahead and set our Instant Pot to high pressure between 45 and 50 minutes. Now, if you like to have your black beans or your beans with a little tooth to them, so a little bite, so maybe you're gonna use them in like a burrito bowl or something like that, then you would do 45 minutes. If you like them a little more creamy, not mushy, but a little more creamy, then you do it for 50 minutes. I usually do it somewhere in between. We're gonna go ahead and hit manual, and we're gonna up the time. I'm gonna do about 47 minutes. So I went ahead and set it, and now we're going to forget it. You're just gonna leave it, and this is going to natural pressure release, or NPR, for the entire time until that little pin goes down. So now our Instant Pot, our electric pressure cooker, has done cooking, and you'll see it now displays a time where it says 000. So now what we're gonna do again is we're gonna allow it to natural pressure release. And what that means is now that it's counted down, it's gonna start counting up, and it's gonna slowly release the pressure over time. And that'll take anywhere to about 15 to 20 minutes. Once that little silver pin has gone down, you know all the pressure is released and we're ready to open the lid. So now our Instant Pot has natural pressure released, and if after about 20 minutes the pin hasn't gone down completely, sometimes the pin tends to get stuck, so that's another tip for you. And you can go ahead and try to unstick it by just releasing the rest of the pressure, and that's okay, and usually it'll just drop down. So ours is natural pressure release. We're gonna go ahead and open it. Now we're gonna go ahead and mix the beans. So now there's a few more ingredients that we're gonna go ahead and add right at the end. And one of those is 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. We have a half a teaspoon of white vinegar. And if you don't have just plain white vinegar, you can use, white wine vinegar is fine. And we're gonna go ahead and add a tablespoon of the Goya adobo. Now this is another kind of seasoning that we use a lot in Cuban cooking, and this is mainly garlic. It has some cumin and things like that. If you don't have adobo, which if you don't have it, you should go out and get it because it's fantastic. I put it on everything. But if you don't have it, you can just use a tablespoon of that other seasoning, the homemade seasoning that you made. And so this is a tablespoon of that. And we're gonna go ahead and mix. So now this is ready to eat as is. Now, I like to have my black beans a little thicker, and the trick to that I'm gonna show you is a way to thicken up your black beans without having to add flour or cornstarch or any of that. This is a really great trick. So this is a tip for you. You're gonna take about a 1/4 cup of the black beans and put them in a bowl, any size bowl. And then you're gonna take a fork and you're gonna mash them. And just mash them until you get sort of like a paste consistency. And what that does is it's going to go ahead and release a lot of the starches. And you're gonna see it's gonna come in to kind of resemble this baby food type mashed paste. And once you've done that, you're gonna go ahead and add it back into the beans. And this starch will thicken these beans up. So just go ahead and put all that back in there and give it a stir. And at this point you can taste it and add a little more salt if you need to, but they're completely ready just like that. So now that it's sat a little bit, it's thickened up just a bit. And the longer it sits, the more it'll thicken up, but you see, so there is some liquid in there because it's really hot. But we serve this over white rice, but it's really versatile. You can serve it with burrito, just anything. Let your imagination run wild. But they're fantastic. The longer they sit, the thicker they'll get. And something I like to do, because it makes so much, and that's what makes it such an economical dish, is I will, once it cools down, now you have to remember, in order for it to cool down, you have to make sure you turn off your Instant Pot or else it'll stay on warm. So make sure you turn it off, let it cool down, then you can portion them into like family size portions or single servings, and you can freeze them. They freeze fantastic, they reheat even better, and the longer you have them, in the freezer and reheat them, they're even better the next day. And they'll get really thick, fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed my recipe. I'll have it linked in the description below. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and enjoy. Bye!